Yes, we're back on the SportsMax zone. The Caribbean's top young footballers have a chance of taking their talents beyond the shores. That opportunity comes in the form of a Caribbean showcase taking place across the region. What started in 2014 as a recruitment process for universities and colleges in the USA has developed into a developmental workshop with 27 coaches from not only colleges and universities, but academies and clubs across the world. The Caribbean Premier Showcase has made a stop back in the land of its birth, Jamaica, and joining us in studio to preview the January 5 and 6 event, our showcase coordinator and special advisor, Oniki Samuels, along with managing partner, Roger Mirage, and on Zoom, president and founder of Valeo FC, Emilio Williams. Gentlemen, welcome to the SportsMax zone. Emilio, great to have you on Zoom as well. And let me start with, I prefer to call you Sammy.
Sammy.
All right, Sammy. I know that this is a project that has gone beyond the shores of Jamaica. You had been to Grenada as well, and there was a showcase at the Trinidad and Tobago Manny Ramjom Stadium as well. From a Caribbean perspective, can you talk briefly about how satisfied have you been that this project is giving opportunities to so many young, talented players across the region?
I'm excited. I'm overly excited, you know, with how everything is manifesting, you know, as we go and we get closer to the showcase, you know. It started as just, you know, an itch to wanting to give back to young Jamaicans, you know, as soon as I got an opportunity, you know, coaching. So I wanted to recruit, you know, personnel, you know, from similar background, you know, etc. And, you know, as you mentioned, I started that in 2014, and it has transitioned into this, what you're seeing now, and it's so satisfying. It makes sense. A lot of personnel, you know, are hopping on board and making this an official event, you know, and that's the objective. That's the main objective, is to make this an official annual event that can give young Caribbean players an opportunity to excel, whether, you know, excel in football, you know, soccer, or excel in academics, you know, because at the end of the day, it started by just, you know, offering scholarships to universities and colleges. Now, you know, there's academies and scouts, you know, on board.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that, but can I just jump forward to an aspect of this project that has to be addressed? Because you had first gone to Maine University in Fort Kent, which is not a regular place for Caribbean people. So when these players get these opportunities overseas, there are times that they find themselves in an environment that would be unfamiliar to them. As I said, in your case, you weren't in like Florida or New York, where there are a lot of Caribbean people. So just as a look ahead, just jumping ahead, as I said, beyond the opportunity being achieved, how can you prepare some of our successful recruits for an environment in a U.S. college that sometimes is a little difficult to deal with?
You know, and that is the unique thing about this specific showcase, this initiative, is the fact that you have myself that have gone through it and have gone through, you know, tough times, obviously, because, you know, when you transition from Jamaica to Maine, where it hits -60, it's really different, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, with the want to do well mindset, you know, because remember, where you're coming from is not ideal, you know, and you wanna make better for your family, your friends, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, you have myself that have gone through it. You have Roger that have gone through it. Many of the personnel who, you know, are assisting and volunteering for this showcase, you know, they've gone through the process. So yeah, we offer that relationship, that connection between the coaches as well. So if there's issues, if there's any kind of conversation that need to be had, you know, we're going to have those conversations. So we kind of maintain somewhat of a relationship as a kid gets an opportunity. They're not just thrown out into, you know, whatever land and just expect to just do well.
All right. I want to ask, and I'm going to open this to put it on the floor for everybody. There's a perception sometimes in Jamaica that when you have a talent like football, you know, you don't necessarily have to focus on your academics, huh? Where you think that you can live off the success of the sport, but success of the sport is not guaranteed. What do you have a couple of master's degrees. You played for Stits. What can you say now, before we even get into the meat of what the showcase is about, to have kids understand that it is just as important for them to focus on the academic side of things, to get these scholarship opportunities, as opposed to just focusing on the football side of things. That is, in my mind, so fickle, because all it takes is one injury and your career is over for life.
Right.
But then, like yourself, you're an example of what is possible.
Right.
Shed some light. I mean, Raja, you can jump in on this as well, about what that means, about the ability to balance the academics and the athletics to allow for greater success, regardless of where it comes from.
Right. So one phrase that I use whenever, I talk to, freshmen, young adults that's coming in is, athletics is going to give you the opportunity, but academics is going to ensure that it happens, So athletics get you here, but academics is going to keep you here, So, and that's one thing where, when you have young talent that comes in, we have different mentorship programs, to talk to them, to explain, a lot of universities, they have tutors, study halls, to ensure that, students are actually going to classes, they're actually doing what they're supposed to do. Sometimes, with the transition and the academic system where you're coming from, high school to college, where in high school it's an 80-20 rule where 80% of the information is taught inside the classroom and 20% out. When you go to college, it's flipped, right? Whereas 20% of the information is taught inside the classroom and 80% outside. So now it takes a lot of management, a lot of, you got to be motivated to do it on your own. Hence, we have study hall sessions. Almost 99% of schools that have athletic program have study hall session. They have tutors, that works with students, so there's a lot of support.
Yeah, but I'm talking about before you actually get there, because this is going to give the kids here an opportunity to get these scholarships. But beyond the footballing talent, they're going to have some kind of credentials academically to be able to get into the universities, whether it's Division 1, Division 2, But there are many of them right now, I can tell you, because I know of a few, where they're only thinking football. They're not thinking, as I said, to find a vehicle to get them out of their current circumstance, to give them an opportunity to get into probably pro football, but through the collegiate system, which then gives them a sounder foundation. Huh?
Right.
So that's one of the challenges we had last year too. So we have a player who did well at the showcase. The coach is interested. We go into the system, we pull it up. The grades are not matching. These days, colleges are not given necessarily full scholarship like that. They'll give you an academic scholarship, an athletic scholarship, and together that would make it a full scholarship. So you may have a coach that offers a player 60% in sports scholarship. The other 40 needs to come from your academic prowess. And so what's also important is a lot of times in the Caribbean, we start to take our work a little bit seriouser in grade 9. But grade 7 to grade 9 is also calculated in that GPA that is needed to get you to that standard, to get that scholarship. Because most universities have tiered scholarship. In Maine, for example, you have the gold, silver, bronze. And so depending on the GPA for the student, which is calculated from grade 7, that sometimes too can face a problem. But it can also be good, because if the athlete has a really good academic, profile, but didn't do so well, we had players who weren't necessarily the best at a showcase, but they still got scholarships and they're still doing well overseas.
Yeah. Emilio Williams, the founder of Valeo FC, is on Zoom. Emilio, welcome to our show. Can you talk to us about your role in this project?
Well, I'm just here supporting football in Jamaica. Valeo operates a nonprofit here in the U.S. We do have an entity in Jamaica at Barbican. With 300 kids. So Coach Samuels, because the environment is small here, the circle of coaches came to me about, a little bit of support with the college showcase. It's things that we do regularly here. And we have done both professional and college showcases in Jamaica before. So I just thought I would lend a hand, because I do understand the importance of what the coaches bring and the life-changing aspects of being involved in such a showcase can provide.
Yeah, well, our panelists just outlined the importance of academics in this overall project. Can you talk briefly to maybe an aspiring youngster watching the show now? What are the things that these people recruiting look for mainly in players? Because we know that playing well is obviously one of the main things, but there are other attributes that the recruiters look for, don't they?
Whether you play top-tier college football or professional football, one of the first things is just character. Your academics, why I'm a supporter of school is because we run 2 professional teams in Europe, and you're a brand. The club is a brand, the team is a brand, each player is a brand. And you might score 30 goals for the season, but if your actions bring the club in disrepute, it's all for naught. So character is one of the first things, and all the things that come with just the discipline, the commitment, the drive, being a good teammate, hard work. Those things are massively important to any college coach and to any professional organization. So I would say for young people in Jamaica, or young aspiring athletes, it's very at the top. The higher you go, the margins are so thin. And there's just so many different options for players. So you can't really have any weaknesses in your psyche or in your character. So academics, I would say, character, and then obviously your footballing talents or your academic, your athletic talents are massively important.
Yeah. Sammy, give me an idea of annually, since this thing is going into its first decade now, or completion of its first decade, the kind of numbers that you have annually. As we've said, you've been to Trinidad and Tobago, you had in Grenada as well. On an event basis, what are the sort of numbers that you get turning out with players aspiring?
So started really small as me just coming back in 2014 and 2015, 2016, brought coaches down for the All La Casa Cup All Manning Cup game, and 2023 January was the first year we officially did it under an umbrella. And since January 2023 until now, we've given out 35 opportunities across 3 countries. This year, with this many coaches coming on board, upwards of 25 coaches, we're looking to probably give maybe 70, if all works out well, 70 opportunities. And obviously, it's not just give out. You have to earn it, but the academics has to, for some schools, has to be on point. For example, Division 1 and Division 2 schools, NCAA Division 1, Division 2, you need a minimum of 5 CXCs and 16 core courses completed, to be admitted into those schools. But the unique thing about the showcase is we have junior colleges that just need a graduation certificate that's coming at the showcase. We have academies that's coming at the showcase, scouts that's coming at the showcase, So there's opportunities for everybody as long as, kids come and they show and they're in shape. And, so the platform, what I'm very pleased is there, so again, we could probably be estimating 70, but probably it could be more. It all depends on the talent.
Yeah. So you're saying, Sammy, that so far in the years that you've had it, you have totaled 35 scholarships. And in this year alone, you're expecting probably 70 or more.
Right.
Mm.
And this is because, even though we have upwards of 25 coaches coming down, we're making sure that we document the event properly. So we're gonna have different media outlets like MG and Buster YouTube channel. They're gonna come and do announcements and all of that, because we want to make sure we capture it. After we capture it, then we're gonna email it to the other 30, upwards of 60 coaches that were
who will not physically be here, but will have the benefit of viewing what happens.
Exactly.
All right, so recently the Reggae Boys assistant coach, John Wall, spoke about the idea of using high school football in Jamaica as a developmental tool as being way off the mark. What are the challenges that you have with players who are eventually drafted by the colleges in terms of their football development? Because one of the things that we know, like for example in Europe, which we can't really use that as a comparison really because of the resources that they have at their disposal. But grassroots football in Jamaica and the Caribbean, for the large part, is not where it's supposed to be. Do you have challenges with where the players are in terms of their development as a footballer when you're making these assessments about when to bring them in? And what are the significant challenges that those present when you're looking at those players?
In terms of technically, athletic-wise, they're there. But in terms of sometimes the tactical game, that needs to work. Well, I'm talking from my system, right? That needs to improve. But, that just takes, video sessions and different stuff. But as far as speed, athletic, it's here. It's Jamaica is the speed capital. So a lot of coaches that's coming down, they want that, right? So when you switch over into the U.S. system and you're playing games, aggressive, high-level games, now, you have to go to the gym. And that's something that's lacking now in some of the Caribbean players, that aspect where they're not in the gym 3-4 times a week, right? When you're in the gym now, you're more durable, right? A lot of times, and now because I'm Jamaican, so I understand. So and these are programs that I try to communicate with the students before coming down, so they're in somewhat in alignment of what needs to happen. So they build into preseason. But unfortunately, some coaches wouldn't know that. So and then it would eventually hurt the students in the long run because then you lose a scholarship, they tear the ACL or whatever it may be. Now, again, back to the unique thing about the showcases, those information are communicated to both parties that, hey, listen, these are some of the things that you may need to send or look over or have conversations about, and these are some of the things that we send to the students that are given opportunity. Hey, this is the...
How far ahead will you send that information? Time-wise, how preparation-wise? Because this takes preparation. You won't tell them this a week before the showcase starts.
100%. So as soon as a kid is given an opportunity, let's say by next week a kid is given an opportunity, we start communicating back and forth, right? So a lot of people see the showcase as just happened on the day, but there's a whole bunch of preparation before and after, because remember there's a transition now that goes from the student to the embassy, from the embassy then they have to reach, and what happens, how do they get there, how do they book the appointment at the embassy, and the interview and prepping for the interview. And so there's a whole bunch of different stuff, but we kind of handhold them throughout the whole process.
Yeah, Roger, what is going to happen this weekend? Just talk to us briefly about exactly what happens at this showcase and what we can expect.
So it's 2 full days of soccer.
Yes.
Last year we did it at Stets, only in St. Elizabeth. This year we have it both in St. Elizabeth and we have it in Kingston, somewhat to separate the Manning Cup group from the DaCosta Cup group, because last year we had over 284 players alone in over 2 days.
Yes.
Wow.
And so, the team came back after we did it in Trinidad out 3 days, Grenada 2 days, and we said, okay, Jamaica needs more than 1 day. So this year we'll start off at 9 a.m. There are like 20 different games in the morning. The coaches will, from the games, select the various players they'd like to see advance to play, and then in the afternoon we'll have the all-scholastic team, which is an academic team selected by ISA, that will play against the all-star team that was selected by the coaches. And then in the evening, further down, we'll have the all-Manning Cup and all-DaCosta Cup team playing against the all-star teams that are, again, selected by the coaches. Because in the end, they want to make sure that they're seeing the best. They get an opportunity to showcase that skill set. But at the same time, we want to give everybody who registered an opportunity to showcase their skills. So that's the overall format of the showcase for this year.
Yeah. Emilio, talk to us quickly about the fact that you've been involved in this before, but SportsMax goes to 26 countries, and Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada and Jamaica have benefited from this. Is there any likelihood that other Caribbean countries could be a part of this? We're seeing the Guyanese making real strides in football in the past couple of years. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has produced players in the MLS and so on, and Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados. There are a lot of Caribbean players talented enough to be a part of this project. Is there any plan to expand what this showcase does beyond the 3 Caribbean countries that have benefited from it in the past?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the goals are to provide opportunities and access to the players in the region. We're in a global economy, so we have to think globally. College coaches and professional teams recruit from all corners of the earth. They do not care where the talent comes from. All they care is that they find it. So showcases like this provides the opportunity and the platform for the players to display, the fruits of their hard labor, which is their talent, and provide them the chance to get the opportunities. So as far as the other countries in the Caribbean, the game, everyone has SportsMax, so everyone's going to watch Man City, and what I mean. So it doesn't take hard. It is not rocket science to download sessions from the internet or to import coaches and to be committed to player development. The game is 11v11. It hasn't changed much. The rules are still the same. So I just think that what we're seeing is other countries are just being committed to the cause. They want to have a voice. They want to play in the World Cup, just like how we want to play in the World Cup. And for any country, Jamaica included, to be at the top tier of football, you have to be committed. You have to be committed to developing youth players. You have to be committed to providing them the opportunities, allow them to leave the shores to learn new things. And it's not just the players, it's also the coaches. We're in an environment, and we're a community. We have to build a community before we can really make football an industry. And in the US, in Europe, it's an industry.
Yeah.
And that's business. So, that's one of our goals here is to, get more people out and provide more opportunities.
Emilio, one quick question. Over the years, would you estimate, what would be your estimate of the number of players who just want an opportunity to go to school and to break the cycle of poverty or their circumstances, as opposed to the numbers who want to go on to play professional football? Is there a metric that separates those two type of players?
I'm sorry, you're asking if the metric that the people that get the opportunity versus...
Yeah, no. Right. So let's say 50 kids get scholarships every year. What percentage of those do you think want to go on to become professional footballers, as opposed to those who just want the opportunity to get to university, to get a degree, to then change their lives and the lives of their family and the circumstances of their families?
Well, everyone wants to play professional. That's what you start out. That's what you dream of. I mean, shoot, I want to go back and play, But the reality of it is the higher you go, not every in the United States, college is a very competitive affair. Thousands of kids apply to these schools, but as a student athlete, you have a shorter line because you have said that I am excellent in academics, I'm excellent in athletics, so therefore, universities provide, but then to make the jump from college to the pros, that's another level of commitment. So I think that if I were to add a metric, it's like 1% to the next level.
Yeah.
From high school to college,
Yeah.
it's 1%. From college to the pros, it's 1%. It's not, it's not everyone gets a medal type of thing. So it's just the people that are the most committed really gets the cheese at the end. But with that being said, the real benefit is you can only play professional 10 years if you're lucky, maybe 15, if you're lucky. You have the average lifespan is 80 years now. You have the other 50 years of your life to figure out. A college degree guarantees that you're going to earn a certain amount of money, going to be guaranteed regardless of what happens, because everything could go well. You're always one ankle injury away from your career, your season being over, or your career being over. So I always tell all our players, whether the ones that play for us professionally or all the kids in our various academies, get the degree. You know, I don't care when, but get the degree, because after 33 or 34, you're not going to be playing professional football. You know, after the age of 25, you don't have a value in the transfer market.
Yeah.
So get the degree.
Yeah. Great point there, Emilio. Just before you go, Sammy, I want you to comment quickly on something here, because in this day of social media and people having technical abilities with cameras to do highlights, reels of themselves and so on. Emilio spoke just now of players considering themselves a brand. So there are opportunities now for players to make highlight reels of themselves. But it is quite different for a coach looking at a highlight reel from coming to the Caribbean in a Caribbean showcase to watch a player in action, because, to be honest, as a TV person myself, I understand that a highlight reel can represent or suggest something far more impressive than what is real. So these showcase opportunities for the recruits and the coaches coming in to see the players live and see everything they do, and just not looking at highlight reels, it will be more important to coaches, isn't it?
100%, because at the end of the day, a highlight is a highlight.
Yes.
Right? And there's more that goes on outside of that highlight, right? So, and you have to really think about it, right? When coaches come to, the Caribbean to recruit, many times coaches are not coming to recruit the bottom of the roster, the middle of the roster. They're coming to recruit the top of the roster. These are supposed to be the kids that are going to score the goals, be the man, be the All-Americans, right? So they're coming to spend big money. So we're estimating over $1 million in US dollars in scholarships, hopefully by the end of the year, that will facilitate, And this is $1 million, that's going to help, families and alleviate, and giving, underprivileged kids an opportunity. Yeah. So at the end of the day, when coaches come and they see and they ensure that they're getting the bang for the buck, and that's why coaches want to come. They want to see, because they're spending big monies and they want to be sure that it is the right choice.
Understood. Gentlemen, great having you here on the SportsMax Zone.
All the best for the showcase.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one and many, many more throughout the Caribbean in the years to come. We have more coming up on the SportsMax Zone after this.